we will be discussing the types of malware. Understanding the various forms of malware is critical because each type operates differently and requires specific detection and prevention strategies. Cyber attacks can lead to stolen data, financial damage, and compromised networks, affecting both individuals and organizations. First, on the type of malware, we have viruses. Viruses attached to clean files or programs, they require user action, example, opening a file to spread, and they can corrupt data or slow down system performance. Once a user opens or runs the infected file, the virus activates and can replicate and sometimes cause system crashes. Pro safety tip is to use a reputable antivirus software and be cautious with email attachments from unknown senders. Next on the list, we have worms. Worms do not need a host file. They are a standalone program. Once inside a network, they scan for weaknesses on other devices and quickly copy themselves. A pro safety tip: keep your operating systems and applications up to date with the latest patches. Monitor network traffic for unusual spikes in data transfer, which can signal worm activity. Next, we have Trojans. Trojans appear harmless at first, but once installed, they grant attackers a foothold on your system. They are often used for data theft or installing additional malware. Pro safety tip is only download software from trusted sources. Check digital signatures when possible, and never install unsolicited programs you did not request. Next on the list, we have ransomware. Ransomware typically sneaks in through phishing emails or malicious downloads. Once active, it encrypts files, demanding a ransom to restore access. This can cripple businesses, hospitals, or schools, for example. A pro safety tip is to regularly back up files offline, train users to spot phishing attempts, and quick response is very vital as disconnecting infected systems can contain the spread. Next on the list, we have spyware. Spyware gathers sensitive information such as passwords, browsing behavior, or personal documents and sends it to a remote attacker. Unusual system slowdowns or unexpected changes to browser settings can be signs of a spyware infection. A pro prevention tip is to run anti-spyware tools, avoid clicking on pop-up ads, and reading software installation prompts carefully. By deselecting any unwanted extra offers, this can help you stay away from spyware. Next on the list, we have adware. Adware displays unwanted ads. It may be used to track browsing behavior, to target ads even more, and it could slow down system performance. Prevention tip: be wary of free apps that promise malicious features, use a reputable ad blocker, and always closely monitor any app permissions during installations. Next on the list, we have rootkits. Rootkits can alter the operating system to mask their presence, making typical antivirus scans ineffective. This sometimes requires specialized rootkit scanners or deep analysis of system memory to detect. A, a good safety tip would be to keep operating systems and drivers updated. Also, to use security products that specifically mention rootkit detection capabilities. And lastly on the list, we have keyloggers. Keylogger runs silently in the background or is physically attached between the keyboard and computer. Every keystroke gets recorded and sent to an attacker. Passwords, confidential emails, and even private documents can be compromised. A good safety tip would be to use trusted security software to detect software keyloggers, physically inspect the computer hardware for suspicious devices plugged in the keyport is a good safety measure as well, and avoiding using public or shared computers for sensitive activities.
Because of the pervasiveness of malware in the digital world, it's important to have the methods in place to help you detect if your device has become infected. Common detection techniques include signature-based detection, behavior-based detection, static analysis, dynamic monitoring of mass file operations, honeypots, checksumming, file entropy, and AI behavioral analysis. In cybersecurity, a signature is any pattern within a system component, so that can include things such as byte data inside a file or a malicious IP address. This method involves comparing the signature of your target to a database of known malicious signatures. If a match is found, the item is flagged as suspicious. However, because this method compares only known malicious signatures, new or undocumented malware can pass by undetected. Behavior-based detection is somewhat similar to signature-based detection, but instead of comparing signatures, this method compares expected behaviors of the target to how it's actually performing. For example, a simple note-taking software that attempts to install a rootkit or disable security controls will be flagged as suspicious. Because this method uses real-time monitoring to track behaviors, it can be resource-heavy and slow down system performance. Static analysis is a signature-based approach that involves studying the target's constitution without running the code. If some component of the target, such as an embedded string or hash, is determined to be potentially malicious, the item is flagged. This can be a safe method to determine the threat level of a target because you never actually run the code. However, current open-source static analysis tools are incapable of dealing with the increasingly complex modern malware. Unlike static analysis, dynamic analysis does run the target code, but runs it within an isolated, controlled environment. This allows security teams to study the behavior of the target in real time, potentially catching malware that could bypass static analysis methods of detection. However, some modern malware is capable of hiding its true functionality until executed within a main network or system. Dynamic monitoring of mass file operations sounds exactly like what it is, monitoring the behavior of mass file operations. This is typically done using a file integrity monitoring tool which compares the target to a known, trusted baseline. If the target deviates from that baseline, it is flagged as suspicious. Because of this constant comparison, any authorized changes could raise a false positive. A honeypot is a decoy digital asset that holds fraudulent information that appears attractive to cybercriminals. Honeypots are used to lure these criminals away from legitimate targets to fake ones, and are then encouraged to spend time within the decoy targets, allowing security teams to study the behavior of the malware in real time and expose hidden vulnerabilities within legitimate system components. Honeypots can even become honey nets, which is an entire network of honeypots created to mimic the appearance of a real network. Although the honeypot technique is one of the most effective and complex methods, it is important to note that they can also be used by cybercriminals as well. Additionally, without proper configuration, more advanced adversaries are capable of lateral movement from within a honeypot to main system components. The checksumming method uses signature-based ideology to verify authenticity of data and data transmission. A checksum is a mathematical value assigned to a set of data by using an established checksumming algorithm. Prior to data transmission, the sending network will assign a checksum to the set of data being transmitted. Upon reception, the receiving network will again calculate the checksum and compare the newly calculated value to the original. If the value does not match, the data is flagged as potentially malicious. Although this method can help the receiver catch potentially harmful code, it cannot be used to fix or recover corrupted data. It also fails to detect certain errors such as byte rearrangements. The file entropy technique measures the amount of entropy or randomness within the target. Processes such as packing, compressing, or encrypting files causes entropy levels to rise. Because these are common operations cybercriminals use to avoid detection by other techniques, measuring file entropy can be used as a good first step when determining if an item is suspicious or not. Given a score using the Shannon entropy algorithm, legitimate items will usually obtain a score between 4.8 to 7.2, while suspicious items will typically have scores over 7.2. However, there are legitimate reasons for encrypting or compressing files, effectively increasing the entropy of non-malicious items. Moreover, attackers have found ways to decrease entropy scores both through adding legitimate data to a malicious file or encrypting only part of the malicious object. AI behavioral analysis works the same as behavioral-based detection techniques, but with the added power and speed of computer processing. Although this method might be able to identify potential threats more quickly or catch threats that a human might miss, they still require a human expert to validate the analysis and can be bypassed by advanced adversaries. Because each technique is built to address one single characteristic of malware, no singular technique offers comprehensive security. Thus, the most robust security systems will use a combination of these techniques, if not all of them. Of course, what a business or individual decides to implement will be dependent on both the type of information they collect and store and the financial and labor costs associated with it.
Malware prevention is essential in today's connected world. As we depend more on the internet, the risk of encountering malicious software increases. That's why it's important to take proactive steps to protect systems and data. One of the best strategies is called defense in depth. This means layering multiple security measures to make it harder for an attacker to succeed. Think of it like locking multiple doors between a criminal and your valuables. Without proper prevention, malware can cause serious damage. It can lead to data breaches, financial loss, and damage to an organization's reputation, something that is often difficult to recover from. It can also disrupt systems and networks, making them unusable or allow hackers to gain unauthorized access and control. Understanding the risk is the first step to building stronger defenses against malware. Software-based tools are key to preventing malware and securing systems. We start with firewalls and antivirus software, which are the most basic tools to block and detect threats. Antivirus looks for known malware, while firewalls help control traffic into and out of the network. Patch management is also crucial. It ensures software stays updated, closing any vulnerabilities malware might exploit. Intrusion prevention systems, also known as IPS, can help monitor network activity and stop suspicious behaviors in real time. Endpoint detection and response, or EDR, goes further by identifying and reacting to threats on individual devices based on behavior, not just signatures like antivirus is designed to do. A security information and an event manager, or SIEM, collects and analyzes logs to detect complex attacks early. Zero trust environments assume no one is trusted by default, even inside the network, and always require verification. Finally, network segmentation breaks down the network into zones that limit the spread of malware if it does get in. All these software tools work together to strengthen your defense. Hardware devices offer strong physical layers of protection and malware prevention. Firewalls, when implemented as hardware, control traffic at the network's edge, blocking unauthorized access before it even reaches your systems. Intrusion prevention systems, or IPS, are often hardware-based as well. They monitor and actively block malicious traffic in real time. Secure storage devices like encrypted drives protect data and malware tampering and theft by keeping it physically secured and often offline. TPMs and HSMs are built for secure cryptographic operations. TPMs ensure system integrity during startup, while HSMs safely manage encryption keys away from malware threats. A jump box is a hardened system that administrators use to securely access other devices. It helps isolate critical systems and limits exposure to malware during remote access. Together, these devices support a strong layered defense against malware. Technology helps, but people are often the first line of defense against malware. That's why cyber awareness training is so important. Training teaches users to recognize and report phishing emails, one of the most common ways to spread malware. It also highlights the importance of strong passwords, using unique, complex combinations, and combining them with multi-factor authentication to reduce the risk of compromise. Users learn to avoid suspicious websites, which host drive-by downloads or fake software. We also recommend enabling pop-up and ad blockers, which reduce exposure to malicious ads or fake alerts. When people understand these risks and practice safe habits, they become a more powerful defense layer in preventing malware infections. Even with strong prevention, no system is 100% safe, so having an incident response and backup strategy is essential. When malware is detected, the first step is to disconnect infected systems from the network to prevent it from spreading. Regular backups, ideally done daily, are critical, but just as important is making sure those backups are often offline and immutable so malware can't encrypt or alter them. Having a clear incident response plan, or IRP, ensures everyone knows what to do when an attack does happen, reducing panic and speeding up recovery. In short, malware prevention is the first line of defense, but a solid response plan and backup strategy ensure your organization can recover and survive an attack.
The ramifications of malware. Malware affects computers, but this can affect the real physical world. Power plants can be hacked, entire cities can be shut down. Water treatment plants can be hacked, and areas can be left without clean water. Hospitals can be hacked, endangering patients. Hackers can steal data and commit identity theft, stealing people's money and getting them in trouble. Malware can be used to shut down government infrastructure. A real-world example of this is on February 28, 2025, a cyber attack caused Mission, Texas to be unable to scan license plates. Mobile data terminals inside police cars were also disabled. The malware kept replicating and spreading, doing more and more damage to the government. Another real-world example. In August 2019, a ransomware attack shut down 23 city governments in Texas. They could not conduct business, they could not issue licenses or certificates, and they couldn't collect payments or conduct payroll activities. Another real-world example. In 2024, a blood bank, One Blood, was hacked and forced to operate manually. Ransomware, a type of malware, compromised One Blood's infrastructure. Operations were slowed, which meant people who needed blood had to wait much longer to get it. Some couldn't get it.